All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to talk about one tiny little character that can completely transform your spreadsheets, turning them from just simple lists into these really powerful analytical tools. It's something you've definitely seen before, but maybe haven't totally mastered: the dollar sign.
I mean, come on, we've all been there, right? You write this perfect formula, you grab that little corner, drag it all the way down the column, and bam, everything's broken. It's a universal frustration. But what if I told you the fix is surprisingly simple? Well, today we're gonna master it. Okay, so first things first, let's start with a simple win. This is the kind of situation where spreadsheets just work. They do exactly what we want them to do. And this is gonna give us a perfect baseline for understanding where things can go wrong later. So check this out. It's a classic task, right? We need to figure out the weekly salary for a few employees. We've got their hours worked, we've got their wage per hour. It's just a simple multiplication problem, a perfect place to start. And the formula? Couldn't be easier. It's just hours worked times wage per hour. And you know the best part? You write it once for Alex, drag it down, and boom, it works perfectly for Brianna, for Charles, for everybody else. The spreadsheet is smart enough to just adjust the formula for each new row. Simple, clean, effective. But what happens when our data isn't set up so nicely? All right. Now let's introduce a little twist. We're going to look at a slightly more complex scenario, one where that simple, helpful copy-paste logic just completely falls apart. Okay, so picture this. You're a bakery owner. You've got all your ingredient prices laid out in one row. That's row 2. And then the quantities you get from each supplier are in the rows right below it. Your job is to calculate the total cost for each ingredient from each supplier. So that first calculation, it looks just as easy as our last example. For the cost of sugar from supplier 1, we just multiply its quantity, that's cell B3, by the price of sugar up in cell B2. Simple enough, right? But yeah, this is where the trouble starts. So what happens when we copy that formula down for supplier 2? Think about it. What we needed to do is multiply supplier 2's quantity, B4, by the price, which is still up in cell B2. But what do we get when we just copy and paste? We get B4 multiplied by B3. The spreadsheet tried to be helpful again, shifting both references down one row. So now it's multiplying a quantity by another quantity. That's just complete nonsense. It doesn't work at all. So the question is, how do we tell this spreadsheet, hey, be smart, but not that smart? How do we lock that price reference in place so it doesn't move? Well, my friends, enter the solution, the magic dollar sign. You know, our source material actually frames this problem perfectly. It says, the requirement is that a cell should be referred constantly without changing while performing copying. And that's exactly it. We need to tell the spreadsheet to keep looking in that one same spot for the price, no matter what. And this technique, it has a formal name. It's called absolute addressing. And really, it's just a fancy way of saying we're using that special dollar sign symbol to lock a cell reference. It's basically you telling your spreadsheet, hey, don't you dare change this part. So here it is, our new hero formula, B3 times B$2. See that? That single dollar sign right in front of the row number 2 is a command. It tells the spreadsheet, look, when you copy this formula, the B3 part can change all at once, but you must always go back to row 2 for the price. It's really that simple. Now we can drag it down and it works perfectly every single time. But wait, there's more. That dollar sign is actually even more powerful than it first seems. There are actually 3 different ways you can use it to lock your cells, which gives you really precise control over your formulas. First up, we've got the full lockdown. $10. See that? A dollar sign before the column and before the row. This thing is like a total anchor. No matter where you copy this formula down across to another sheet, it will always point back to that one single cell, A10. Next up is the one we literally just used for our bakery, $10. This is what we call a mixed reference. Here, only the row is locked. The column letter, A, is totally free to change if we copy the formula sideways, but that row number 10 is gonna stay locked in place. This was absolutely perfect for our bakery prices, right? Because we wanted to lock the price row, but let the formula adjust for the different ingredient columns. And finally, you can probably guess this one, you can do the exact opposite, $A10. In this case, the column is locked, but the row is free to change. This is super useful if you have something like
say a tax rate or a discount percentage, all in a single column, and you need to apply that same rate down a long list of different items.
Okay, so mastering this stuff, absolute addressing, it's not just about fixing annoying broken formulas. It's the skill that elevates you from just making simple lists to building powerful dynamic models that can actually start to predict the future. Let's take a simple predictive analytics example to show you what I mean. Let's say we want to model our company's customer growth over the next 10 years. So the logic here is basically a simple loop. You start with this year's customer count, you add your new customers, and then you subtract churn, which is just the percentage of customers who leave. Now that churn rate, let's say it's 15%, that's a constant, right? So you'd put that in a single cell and use an absolute reference, something like $B, $3, so you can just drag your growth formula down for all 10 years and it'll never, ever break. All right, let's take this one step further. Let's apply this to an even more powerful analytical model. Imagine you're opening a coffee shop and you need to figure out the most profitable price for a cup of coffee. So here, we can actually model out our entire pricing strategy. Let's say we have a formula for demand and we have a fixed cost to make each cup of coffee. That fixed cost, that would be an absolute reference. Then we can just plug in different selling prices, $2, $2.50, $3, and our model instantly calculates the expected demand and, more importantly, the profit. And just like that, we can see that a price of $3 is the most profitable. This is seriously powerful analysis, and it's all made possible by that one little dollar sign. Okay, so you now have the core skill to build these really robust models. But before we wrap up, let me leave you with one final pro tip that's going to make your spreadsheets not just powerful, but also really easy to understand. It's a feature called range names. And check this out. Instead of referring to a cell with a cryptic address like $D $5, you can actually give that cell a simple, memorable name, like tax rate. Then your formula literally becomes income times tax rate. How cool is that? It makes your models so much more intuitive and easy for anyone, including, your future self, to read and understand. So there you have it. In just a few minutes, you've gone from the pure frustration of a broken formula to understanding the absolute key to building powerful predictive models. You've basically just unlocked a true spreadsheet superpower. So the only question left is this. Now that you can build models that actually work, what are you going to analyze first?